All right, Laura. Now, the first thing we want to look at with your assessment, the RMR, which stands for resting metabolic rate. This is a measurement, just like any other measurement, that would be from blood sugar, triglycerides, cholesterol. It's a measurement to human metabolism at rest. And it varies widely between individuals. A big component of what RMR is your lean weight. Not your total weight, but your lean weight. And it's one factor in what needs to be considered when we talk about dietary guidelines. So people that routinely eat diets that are suppressed, even if we're eating healthy foods, but the number of calories are too low. If those calories are too low, it inhibits the ability to do exercise to cause the VO2 to progress. Now, most people aren't doing VO2 testing, so they don't have any credibility to know, are they progressing? They're going to aerobic dance class, they're going to water aerobics, they're going to cardiac kickboxing, but they're doing what's got the aerobic system engaged, but there's no way to know that their exercise is being worked in a way that their VO2 abilities are progressing. So a diet that's low in calories, that might have low energy levels, there's no way, if you're not keeping records of what we're going to do when we do our VO2 training, there's no way to bring credibility that you can't create the changes to the body necessary to burn more fat, which is mitochondria development. So your RMR was 1100. That's showing the base of calories you, as an individual, should never be below. In no manner. So somebody might say, well, Mike, if she burns this many calories at rest, and certain diet centers or weight loss centers might predict you to go less or restrict more. It's a short-term solution to dehydration, muscle wasting, and fat loss, which makes more body mass come off and make a person feel good about themselves. But basically, it's going to hinder the ability for that exercise test we did to grow. And if the exercise test we did doesn't grow the VO2, the muscles that need to stimulate more mitochondria, it won't happen. See, so it's not fair, but it's the truth. So if somebody chooses to be sedentary, that can't stimulate the mitochondria. If somebody chooses to do a weight training routine, that can't stimulate the mitochondria. Then the only thing that can stimulate the mitochondria is non-stop steady rates over time growing. But non-stop steady rates, whether it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, 60 minutes, 70 minutes, they can't grow and improve performance unless you eat enough calories to be above the RMR. So remember, resting metabolic rate is the dietary intake you burn at rest, and I'm never going to feed you a diet below that. We'll set up a diet off of this test, and we'll have a weigh-in once a week, and our goal to know we're losing weight from stored fat is weight loss between a quarter pound to a pound and a half. And if we lose more than a pound and a half, you get to eat more. The diet gets adjusted and we feed you more, so we can continue to push the VO2. Now, the VO2 test, the importance of the VO2 test is to say, what is your current state of fitness measured in milliliters per kilo per minute? So if somebody chooses the exercise, the best way to be credible that your exercise is working is to get these VO2 tests every 3 months. So if I like square dancing, and my wife tells me it's great aerobic exercise, and I square dance 6 days a week, but I get retested in 3 months and the VO2 is actually lower, then square dancing should be for fun. It shouldn't be for developing the aerobic system. If I lift weights and I'm doing exercise, but the lifting weights doesn't allow the VO2 to stay at where it needs to be average for my age or better, then do weightlifting for bone density, muscle tone, injury prevention. But don't lead somebody to believe that's a great model of exercise for VO2 capacity, because it's not. So what we're trying to do is show this education that your doctor will agree with, but it's just not being talked about on a regular manner. So this VO2 test, which is a direct measurement to your cardio system that can deliver oxygen to the muscle, and then the muscle system's ability to use it. Again, we want to be able to see with what I give you in exercise that it progressively gets better. 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. And then that creates a condition within the cell to improve mitochondrial function, which controls all fat burning. So we got to realize some people can just use more fat for energy than others. It's not that the overweight person most of the time is eating more. That's a misconception. So there's people as they're getting older that are eating less, and they can prove it to you, but they've gained more stored accumulative fat because they've lost the VO2 capacity without understanding what it is. So let's take a look at it. For ladies, in this age category, look how excellent is 56, anything above 56. What's very poor is anything below 28. Now, look how it goes down as people get older. The biggest reason these scores go down, the biggest reasons they go down from wherever you were in the beginning to when you get older is because of lifestyle. Until you came here, nobody's ever said the word VO2.
I never heard it.
Now, if you never heard it, that's not your fault. That's a failure in preventative health care. If somebody was to say, Mike, for an 18-year-old, anything below 33 is below average. Well, will that person have less fat burning potential than this person? Yes, because the mitochondria development for somebody here at 56 has to be more. So you're saying the biggest issue we know with testing is you can't get a better score without more mitochondria, which controls the rate we burn fat. All right, now, for your test today, we tested at 25. And in the age category of this age category right here, you can see 25 is below average. But I test people not even on the page. Now, the higher this can go up, the healthier you are. So,
and it can change.
And it change. Oh, it's going to. Oh, well, first of all those people you saw in our presentation, they're our members. Okay, so the issue is it's going to go up because you're training by science. So when I say 5 to 6 days, do you mean that's what's needed commitment-wise to create mitochondrial function to go up? Yes. Then why would we lie to somebody who really seeking the truth? Why would we lie and say 3 days a week just to get a sale? 3 days a week is not enough. So if you do the frequency and you do the correct durations and you do the intensity off your peak, everybody creates mitochondrial function to go up. And when that goes up, when mitochondrial function goes up with VO2 going up, you're burning more fat, not just with exercise, but you're burning more fat sleeping. You're burning more fat sitting. You're burning more fat when you choose to go out to do the steady rate of exercise. So somebody on an elliptical that has a lower peak VO2, the stride frequency on the elliptical is lower. Somebody with a higher VO2 can do more demanding work. Now, it's not demanding to them because they've got so many mitochondria, they don't cause lactic acid accumulation. Now, when I tested you and you tested out at 25 milliliters, that's when you reached the point your muscles started to cause lactic acid to accumulate. Now, lactic acid should be thought of as a fuel source, but it brings fatigue when it accumulates. All right, so it's just like somebody saying that person up there is trying too hard. They're exercising in a way that it's going to bring fatigue, and when fatigue comes, the mechanical work that's being done at the moment drops significantly. So you can see you went from 20 to 40 to 40 to 50. This was your steady rate till we reached peak. And you ended up doing 80 to 90 feet a minute. But that wasn't something at the moment you could sustain. Do you think you could have sustained that work, that amount of work?
No.
So what we've got to do is train you to cause your muscle cells to have a reason to reproduce more mitochondria. And probably before we get to the end of the 12 weeks, you'll be sustaining that. You'll be able to go up there, and where you were at a point of fatigue that couldn't have been sustained, you'll be able to sustain that because of the changes that have occurred because of the ingredients of intensity, duration, and frequency. But it's based off your test data. It's not based off working beside another person beside you. So what's negative about group activities is some people pushing other people and those individuals that already have higher level of fitness. They're trying to do something to make the other person better, but they're pushing them up above what their capabilities are at the moment. And what happens with that? The body can't adapt. It's just like, again, somebody saying they're training beyond their ability to adapt to exercise. And so you've got a sedentary population that's never going to do nothing. Well, we've got to change their mindset to not be sedentary. But then you've got a group exercising that doesn't put the required effort out. They might say, well, I'm going to walk today, but they walk at the lowest end of their peak VO2. So the whole time they're walking, they're nowhere near their peak. So next year, their peak comes down lower because they didn't put enough effort out. But then you got the group that puts a lot of effort out, and that effort doesn't cause physiological change. It's just like, again, being done in a manner that it doesn't allow the body to adapt because of the accumulative fatigue. Plus, it feeds the sports medicine facilities. So overuse injuries are basically poor examples of exercise exceeding people's individual abilities. So running in a group, the best way to run on the best steady rate pace is to know your peak VO2 and don't exceed it. And then do work where you have what we call active rest. So when we give you your 5 days of aerobic work, we're going to have high heart rates that are under the lactic threshold, moderate heart rates, and low heart rates. So you mean you're going to make me pull back the reins and train in lower heart rates mixed with moderate and high? Yes. There would be nobody that could go out and train at their peak 5 to 6 days a week. Because again, it's just like a weightlifter. It exceeds their ability to adapt. A weightlifter, if he can squat 600, one thing he's not going to tell you is, I bet you I can do it every day of the week. Because he can't do it every day of the week. Then what about peak aerobic capacity, trying to train at or above? Can't be possibly done every day of the week. Well, why not test it so we have parameters to know how to give out prescription that can be manageable, and then the body can learn to adapt. Any questions?
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so now the next step is we're going to take this data, we're going to set up a program, and if you can come in tomorrow, we're going to start tomorrow.